Tycker Gertrud om musik? Jag läste i hennes journal att hon tycker om att dansa. Och att hon tycker om pojkar. Hon tycker mycket om pojkar. Är det därför hon har så bråttom ut? För att träffa pojkar?
Nej.
Nej. Varför har hon bråttom då?
Jag vill vara med min familj.
Familj?
Alla mina syskon.
Dina syskon, ja, just det. Just det, ja. Alla hennes syskon. Säg mig en sak, Gertrud. Om alla dina 6 syskon och du själv fick 7 barn var, hur många fler barn skulle det finnas i din hemkommun då?
Väldigt många.
Väldigt många. Ja, det är bra. Det är väldigt bra. Du ska få din tubarokklusion, Gertrud, precis som du själv begärt. Tänk om alla kunde dra sitt strå till stacken så som du gör. Så mycket bättre det går när man samarbetar.
När får jag komma ut då?
Lyssna. Det här är verkligen Sverige.
I remembered the line from the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita. Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds." I suppose we all thought that one way or another.
Min högtalare låter inte sämre än vad den brukar göra, va? Nej, vad bra. Jag har bara i en kabel nämligen, så jag undrade lite där. Det ska finnas typ en elkabel och en USB-kabel, men det verkar som att den får tillräckligt med el från datan. Den här ljudmixen jag har. Ja, men då funkar det så funkar det. Okej. Hello and welcome to the return of the repressed. We are sitting down with you once again. Very happy to do so. To finish up the first season of the Skullboys series. Which, we were joking about it, Sebbe, right? Like we thought this was going to be a summer series, but here we are. There is some snow on the peaks outside my window. I don't know. Has it snowed yet in Sweden? It hasn't, right?
No, not yet.
I mean, not where you live. In the north, probably, but
Yeah, but it could be any day now.
Nice. I'm both of you and me were autumn people, right? Like we prefer the the dying away of summer. Like that's the rebirth for us, the fermentation of nature.
Yeah,
But it really does smell nice.
It does. I like autumn and fall, but now I guess it's the worst part of it. You know, just before winter.
That's true.
When it's very dark and damp and cold, but not yet like a full-blown winter.
Right. Here it's peaking, I would say. It's peaking right now. But then again, because the insulation in the houses is terrible in Japan, it doesn't have the same, cozy atmosphere to it. Otherwise, I'd be looking forward to it much more if I'd already gotten a house with a cabin stove or something. But no, not yet. So yeah, then you lose the that cozy feeling.
It's not so cozy just to crawl down in a moist futon.
Yeah. I got like an electric carpet. That's nice. That heats up. And then I have like, do you know what what are they called? Now I lost the word. Kotatsu? Like the tables that you have like a blanket that goes out from the table, and then at the center of the table there's like a radiator.
Yeah.
So your lower part body is very warm, and then like your upper part you need to like put extra clothes on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
such a
lovely.
weird invention.
Yeah, they have a lot of these solutions to their insulation
Quick
problem.
fixes.
Yeah. That has been around for a long time. But where are we in our story? Like, today is going to be a little bit of summary, as well as a bit of bigger questions as to what did we learn this summer and autumn, I guess, and also sort of where do we perceive this to be going in the future. And apart from those three aspects, we also have an actual story to sort of finish this whole thing, because this is where we were supposed to be going the whole time, right?
Yeah, and I think it's like, let us start off with a brasklapp, or like a caveat, that this season finale is a little bit of a improvised finale, because I think when we started off this series, we thought that we would be here much sooner, and we wanted to end it off with a little further along, but then doing this work, we got I would not say sidetracked, because I'm happy with what we found
For sure.
doing the research. So it's just that you have to be a little bit flexible doing a project like this, and to not make a series that would end up being 10 plus episodes. We thought it would be better to split it off into a season 2 then, because we didn't we still have a lot of stuff and a lot of uses stuff, but I think this will be like a good place to stop and contemplate, have a little rest.
I really feel like contemplation, like kind of really trying to work out what it is that we overcame, or like not overcame, but the stuff that we have gathered over this period of time that we started to do this is I don't know, I really didn't think that there would be so much to it. Like, now I see like so many more connections, like between the military and like intelligence apparatuses and the sciences of history, like archaeology and anthropology and biology and
and when we started, I didn't
and,
know we would get into yeast research,
right?
And the connection between the brewing
pure
manufacturers
lines
in Denmark.
beer and sterilization. That's that's a crazy one.
Because
and I don't know,
I made this joke to you earlier. I don't know if I think it was off mic, but that if somebody would have just pitched me a story for a movie or a book, a sci-fi, and then there's this eugenics program that is run by the yeast manufacturers, etc. You would think it's a little bit over the top, but as we often see, reality trumps fiction.
It does. It does. I even used that joke of yours, and I did credit you in the sort of plot line for that episode. So
okay, I didn't see
yeah,
it. But yeah. So,
yeah.
but it's
No, it's been a wild ride for sure. And
yeah.
I don't know, like, I mean, for sure, to a certain degree, anybody, most of the people who listen to this show, and you and me included, like, we're privileged to, I don't know, have gone to university. Like in Sweden, it's easier because it's for free, right? Like we didn't have to pay for that sort of interpolation. But at the same time, I mean, I can't but help to think, like what we said initially, like the world would just have been better if like we didn't learn all of this bullshit. Like you see how much of this doesn't come naturally, like all this mythology about like, racism being a sort of like our true nature, to be suspicious and fear the unknown and blah blah blah. But like we see how much effort has been put into, teaching people to see the world in this way, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, as we go along, I'm sure we're going to have like more sort of concluding thoughts, but we need to push through towards the very end, because I think what we're going to deal with today, not only because the way we set it up, I think this institute is also very much a sort of bridge to the other side. We mentioned that before as well, but like they really tick all the boxes of having been sort of in both camps, like the 1800 sort of unmasked naked racism that is going to become, the population control and, racial biology being rebranded as human genetics or medical genetics, etc. We see all of these things taking place in the institute that we're going to be talking about today. So
And I think we can see this, like you said, the bridge, Bifröst, the bridge between Middle Earth and
the Heimdall, where he sits, right?
in exactly Heimdall. He guards the bridge to Asgard.
Yeah.
And we will see this like in the next season. Then we will like leave the realm of science or like the academia and see more of this being implemented, right? In the programs of the Third Reich, but also with in modern days in like what some NGOs are up to in Africa, etc. So I think we can see this as a bridge, from a possibility to necessity. And for this episode, we will be like coming back home to the north.
Yes, Helheim.
Exactly. So we will be going back to Sweden, and also be going further up north to the frontiers of the Swedish north.
Yes, where we started, right, with Linnea going up there in the 1700, thinking this is the Peru of Sweden. Like I don't understand why everybody keeps saying Peru all the time. Like what? Why is that the archetypical frontier? I don't know. I've seen it time and time again. Yeah, like Russia, for example, when they built the Siberian Railroad there towards the end of the 1800s, they also said Siberia is our Peru, and it's like, what's up with Peru? Why do you all talk about it like that?
Yeah, but I mean, Peru was the center of the Inca empire, right? And I guess isn't it in Peru where allegedly like El Dorado is?
Yeah, well, it's somewhere in the Amazons, no?
But it's
yeah, it's got some mythology to it with the Incas for sure. Yeah, but it still doesn't really make any sense.
Yeah, it's a weird. I agree. It's it's not like they said like, oh, the north of Sweden is our Zanzibar.
Mauritius.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mauritius of my heart.
The dolphins of Lapland.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So
Okay.
let's
Let's do
jump
this.
into this. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay, so I think we'll start off this finale with like a short recap of the series so far.
That could be a good idea.
And as we said, we will be talking about like this the institute, the State Institute for Racial Biology. That was the first of its kind. But before we get there, we will just look back again and see like how we got here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the purpose of the institute was to obtain a scientific basis for eugenic measures and prove the superiority of the Aryan race at the time when the Swedish folkhemme, like how do you pronounce or how do you translate folkhemme into?
I translated it as people's home in the intro to the last episode.
Oh yeah, that's
and
good. I
I
think, yeah.
sort of gave it like what I said. Everybody has heard about the welfare state, but like that's just one of the two legs of the social democratic project. The other part is folkhemmet, which is sort of like the core patriarchal units of the society, I guess. But at the same time,
Yeah,
it's got a
and
lot
to
of
make something like for the Swedish folk to have
yeah,
like a standardized way of it, like if we look at like when the Hitler regime tried to do all of these different folk products,
yeah,
which only Volkswagen is the one that actually
exactly.
made any like money and
Hmm.
survived. But they tried to have like a folk radio, folk, etc., etc.
Yeah, it's like what you're gonna eat, what car you're gonna drive, like what's sort of the best amount of children to have, what kind of holiday activities are you gonna get up to, just sort of planning what's the subject of the modernist project that is the nation state. How are they going to be spending their time and live their life? I guess this is the schablon, or like the template. It's called folkhemmet, something like that.
Exactly. So and this was to be built in the 20th century, this idea of the folkhemmet, and with it then the scientific categorization of what is the Swedish folk. And at this time, many people believed in racial biology or racial hygiene, etc., etc. Has a lot of names, which said that people belonged to the different races, and the different races were worth different things. And in particular, they could find evidence then that Swedes were the superior race in regards to, for example, Laps, Jews, Gypsies, or what they categorized as traveling peoples. And Sweden was for a long time one of the leading countries in racial biology research, largely because of the government provided funding and showed great interest in this type of research. And this institute, as we will see later, becomes a major source of inspiration for many leading Nazis in Nazi Germany and their dream of the Third Reich. Today in Sweden, the research institute is a very sore toe not to be stepped on. It is a stain no one can laugh off or deny. And for this reason, the Institute is something that we should not talk about out loud in Sweden. This is not me saying this, but this is the general, like the gentleman's agreement,
Yeah, especially because it was the like social democrats were so heavily involved with it, and like it wasn't like there was a, like in Germany they can easily say, oh, because the NSDAP came to power as a sort of fringe party, existed for less than a decade almost, and then disappeared, and then we denazified everything, and so it, like the situation is different. Whereas like in Sweden, it for the majority of the 1900s, it was the same party ruling and creating modern Sweden, which also created and produced this institute.
Yeah. And most of all, they prefer that we, not talk about it at all. Either it should be, like talking about it in an academic sense and try to like whitewash it and justify it as, oh, it was the times, etc. But as we shall see as well, this was like, it's true to some extent that we say, that our racial biology or racial hygiene, etc., was popular. But the next question is amongst who, right? It's not amongst like the working masses. They don't really care about the Swedish race. Like working 14 hours in the fields or in the new factories that starts to pop up in the cities, right? They have more pressing concerns. Concerns, yeah. And this is something that is typical as well, that they want all of the like Swedes to take blame collectively.
Responsibility. It's the same thing with like the Anthropocene. Like there are some good things with the like naming it the Anthropocene, but like with climate change and stuff today, they want us all to feel responsible, and it's just like we could fill a theater with the responsible ones and then just burn it, and the climate change would it would be over.
Exactly.
Don't worry about it. We'll take care of it.
Yeah. But so this will be the story then of perhaps the most embarrassing stain upon like Swedish history and the Swedish political system, because this is the story of the State Institute for Racial Biology. But to understand Swedish racial biology at large, we first had to go back in time, as we did. And we eventually wound up with starting with the Swedish botanist Carl Linnaeus in the first episode. We have come a long way since then, right, Marcus?
Yeah. I'm just thinking about all those letters that I read, and that that guy who killed himself. The fucking image haunts me. Like, oh shit! Every time I watched that Greek director that we like. He did like
Georgios,
like,
what's his name?
I
know.
Right. Poor Things. It was kind of like. Oh no, it wasn't Poor Things. Poor Things was sort of set in a steampunk era, but it was like the favorite. Maybe it's a sort of it's 1700, I think, or like the Baroque period, maybe Rococo. And as soon as I see like one of those white headpieces, like the wigs that they have, I only see like a bloodstained, white wig by one of Linnaeus' apostles, like trying to live up to the his papa's directions.
Papa.
Nothing is ever good enough when somebody has told you to pick and find everything that exists in nature.
Not good enough.
What an impossible task.
Yeah, and we saw that Linnaeus was a huge dick, basically. And probably had some, some letter combination syndrome as well. It's nothing against people with ADHD or something like this, but I think if like
when you have so many
Linnaeus,
people under your jurisdiction, and like
and you think it's like a god gift that you with some sort of superpower. And, the poor guy, and like we said, he was probably better off just like collecting butterflies in the field.
Probably.
But and then they started a cult around him as well. Fuck. And then it's like all of these. I think of the anthropologists, they go to the Amazons, and then it's like, the people there thought I was a god, but then they do the same shit in the academia. It's like we're worshipping Linnaeus, having bonfires and drums.
Just no, there's no better way to put it. Like, it was a cult for sure, like, or a new religious movement.
No, so we started off with Linnaeus then, and it's like, of course we have to start off somewhere, but our idea was that like tracing back this type of comparative analysis within research and academia at large, because he was very famous for like cataloging, right, the animal kingdom and the plants. And from that it starts off a whole movement, as we say. Starts off with biology, but it's as we saw in the second episode then, that it's also becomes a prevalent method of research within linguistics, for example, comparative linguistics. And
because it's like the start of science as such, right? Like, natural history basically means everything, somehow. Like, how would you be able to find something that couldn't be included into natural history? Like, if you were, and that really seems to be the case at this time as well, right? Like, they concern themselves with everything. And because it's sort of, I don't know, because this mania takes hold that, like, classification equals science, then, like, it's as if, like, that's all they have to do. They just have to give a new name to things and sort of invent this super structure, like something on top of it, which is like just a new symbolic order of like words. And like, I mean, he invented, like, I don't know how many, like tens of thousands of new words for things. And then, like, who's going to argue with you? Like, clearly you live in another world.
And from Linnaeus' way of classifying plants and animals, then we see that it was like not a long step to do the same with humans. It only took a couple of years until the first guy started doing it. So it was not that it was like 100 years or like generations. Once you start off with this, it's like, but I can classify humans as well. And we saw that also Linnaeus had his own classifications, right, of like different groups. And once the ball was rolling, then it it became a thing of its own, with all of this. For example, we talked about the German physician and anthropologist Johann Blumenbach, who, like, one of the forefathers to explore this, like, the different so-called races of humanity, and mainly by
that's
comparing.
the guy with Caucasian, right? That giving the whites some identity finally.
Yeah, exactly. Like
and,
and
and it was Blumenbach with that story, right? Like where he had seen somebody from the back, and thought she was really beautiful, and then found out that she was a black lady or brown or a person of color, and then I was like, okay, I don't believe in this anymore. It's
yeah.
like, okay, yeah.
Yeah, so but and then in the beginning, then they started off, with skin color, right? That was like the first, and then they
Mhm.
was they started like being analytical as they were. They was like, oh, but you can be tanned, or maybe it's something else. We should go into like maybe it has something to do with bones and bone structures,
Yes,
especially the skull.
gotta get to the marrow of the thing.
Exactly. But so in the 18th century, then like research on humans was mostly about classifying their differences without any direct judgment. But the longer the research went on, and it becomes more and more like in quotation marks analytical, or academic. Um, it becomes being more like sophisticated bullshittery. Then they start, having like different schools arguing with each other on how to base this like racism. And as we also saw in the like reading about this, we find so many people that try to like justify us in the beginning. Oh no, they just wanna they were naive, they were not racist, etc., because usually
Hmm.
they had like some orientalist fetishizing in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
So the hierarchy of these like alleged races, they differ. And in the beginning, they like the Indians in America, the Native Americans, were really popular, right, as to be like some sort of romantic urfolk, and
Hmm.
they were
The
always
noble
quite
savage, right?
exactly quite high. And with this, like we have the backdrop, of course, of capitalism developing, colonialism developing, and eventually like imperialism. So we see all of this like take shape, and with the new fields of research that
Yeah.
emerges, um,
Yeah, because the whole
based on
classification. Yeah, sorry, go on.
yeah, based on like material advancements, like having the microscope, for example. Or then you can try to justify it being in the genes instead of the skull, or um, advancements with railroads, etc., and people going on these research trips with then you get like the advent of archaeology, etc. But it's all of it like hooks on to the same superstructure, right? So it's like expansion packs, and they add some mechanics to the game, but it's
Hmm.
still the same game of
Yes.
justifying colonial power and the ruling elites. But yeah, go on, Marcus.
No, I was just saying like that we can see that the obsession with classifying things goes hand in hand with reification, right? Like the capitalist in systems of making things into things. Yeah, like the making of things, like things that fit within a value structure that capitalism can relate to. Like if they're not reified objects, they don't have value within the structure that capitalism recognizes, and it becomes a no thing, or it becomes nothing. And so they need to start classifying things, give them names, organize it, and make a map of the world of like where is their value to be extracted and exploited. And so like yeah, the scientists are doing it for them in many ways. And that I think that's perhaps one of the most general pictures that one can make of the tendency within science at this time. It was like perfect the way you said it, right? Like it wasn't as if the trading companies went together with the scientists on their explorations. No, it's like the other way around. Like the scientists tagged along when the trading companies required their services to sort of make a comprehensible bookkeeping of what do we have access to and so on.
Yeah. And then we see, like as we went along with the episodes of Gustav and with Sven Hedin, exactly to see this. Those were two examples, but to see like they were rock stars of their day and how they worked, and I think it's very informative to.
Yeah. And also the militarization of those fields which they worked in. I thought that was really interesting.
Exactly. And we see how this hooks up into the the larger narrative of colonial power, and and how they were basically when we talk today about YouTube grifters and Andrew Tate and etc. They were the same back at their day, with the um, exaggerating the exploits of their adventures, right? And doing it in the early smut literature, the literature for the masses, and it's of course serves a double purpose of furthering their own ideology and to make money, private profit, and to capitalize on the gains. And it's the same as we see, with these type of networks that start to establish, because of course we talked about during the day of Linnea, and they were mostly noble families, and of course they had some networks as well, but we see that in the episode on the eugenics conference, etc., by this time 150 200 years after Linnea, these networks that have been established, and you have a new caste of people with the scientific,
like a new class of Nova Rich individuals as well.
Exactly. And they start to to get organized, right? And I don't know if we talked about this a lot throughout the series, but the I don't think it's a coincidence that the racial biology becomes more overt and more prevalent once the working masses start to oppose the bourgeoisie, right?
That's true. Yeah,
because they use this as a vehicle to justify the class society, and to keep the workers being poor, and to justify it on the grounds of race, and not just race, but hygiene, sexual deviancy, gender, etc., etc.
Yeah, mental problems and any weapon that they can find, like be it medicalization tools or be it just morality or whatever they use, they try to make a science out of it and attack the working class with these new tools of science.
Yeah, and during the days of Linnea, the if we look in Sweden, for example, you have peasant uprisings, right? And peasants were the oppressed class at that time, because you didn't have the proletariat, because there was no modern industry. But being like a feudal society that hadn't developed into a capitalist society, you didn't have like the need for Linné to talk about like the lower races in the same way, and they could like afford themselves to be more romantic.
Yeah,
That's what I think as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It's and also because they lived like in a, I know, a more folkloric universe as well. Like I think Linnea was banned from a German town because they had like a hydra on display, like in their city hall, which was obviously like fake, right? Like hydras don't actually exist. And then he had come there, and he was like, "No, I find no evidence of like there ever having been hydras in the world." And then the mayor was like, "Yeah, you're banned from the city now." So yeah, it was
That's
a
pretty
different
cool
time.
of Linnea, though.
Yeah. Cred to him for
Yeah.
saying that hydras don't exist. Yeah, because like Jordan Peterson thinks they do exist, right? Like he was talking with Richard Dawkins recently about the dragon, and I don't know. I just had to laugh. Like I don't know what world does he want to like return to, but I think he would love to be an apostle of like Linnea. Like you could get away with anything back then.
Yeah, but so I think I don't know if I missed anything, but I think that is like a short summary of like the series at large, and
That's pretty good.
our um, walk throughout history within like racial science and adjacent sciences. And to see like the development. So where we are now, where we start off, right, is in the beginning of the 20th century. We have these societies that had started like as geographical societies, etc. They like develop into being racial societies, eugenic societies, and you see the scientists at the time, they start to take on a more like political role, right? And see themselves as ambassadors for this new type of society, a class-based society that is like founded in eugenics. And I think this is like where we will start off.
Yeah, it's like the scientists have, because everybody want to be, well, not everybody, but if you're a liberal, most people believe in modernism of some kind. And of course, scientists have the best access to modernism as people perceive it during the during the beginning of the 20th century. So so that, which is kind of where we are still today, right? Like most people rely on scientists to explain things about like where we are going as a species and so on.
What's the name of this the Asian guy, with white hair?
Yeah, I know which one you mean.
Like he's the worst one. Like,
he's one of
I
the really
wouldn't
one of the
want
worst
him
ones.
to like tell me anything. What's his name? Like I
don't know.
need to look
I
at.
know exactly who you mean, but his name escapes me.
Can I Google Asian
Yeah.
scientist with white hair? Or is this
That's
too...
what I would do too. I think his
Here he
biggest.
is, Michio Kaku.
Oh yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's one of those, like, because nowadays it's a lot of it is like these bullshit,
Astrophysicists.
physicists, etc. It's like talking just weird nonsense because it's like it's so fantastical that you can like be so occult with like science. They really like crack the code. But how can we make like science new age?
Yeah.
And then you have this like talking about black holes and etc. It's
it's either far out in like the external universe, or it's far out into the internal universe. Like they can never be on like just here and now, like among normal people. It's like either the submicroscopic or the telescopic, like those.
And it's always like that. If you see like documentaries about like space or something like this, a lot of like the pictures that they put up are like made up. You know this, right? Because
we talked about this already.
Yeah.
It's like Photoshop the stuff.
So it's bullshit. Because if you really wanted to make like a documentary and like show how it looks, to have a star within a black hole, within a nebula, within blah 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 blah, it's like you can just like put it in a mathematical equation and show it, but it wouldn't be so fun to look at, right? So then it's just like you have all of these sci-fi
it's
shots.
like the difference between Windows and the command prompt. People want to have some interface.
Exactly. Okay, so let us then start off with a little bit of a background, and we will see like the lead up, the build up to this State Institute.
A house that Herman built.
Exactly.
Nästa gång som du kommer, nästa gång som vi ses, och nästa gång vi somnar lika sent. Och vem kunde tro det, vem kunde gissa, nu åker vi hjulet igen. Och kanske den sista kan bli den bästa, låtsas att vi aldrig har gjort det här förut. Runt, 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 vi lånar det vi kan av varann. Och snart kan jag alfabetet igen. Jag som trodde det var, jag som visste det var. Och begravt. Hur fel kan man ha? Du står i porten, jag bakom gardinen. Tyckte jag hörde en knapp noll som fall. En långsamhet väcka, ett tre länder möts. Vi låtsas det första gången. Världen blir mindre och världen blir större. Vi uppfinner allting som vi glömt. Runt, runt, vi lånar det vi kan av varandra. Och snart kan jag alfabetet igen. Jag som trodde det här var, jag som visste det här var. Dött och begravt. Hur fel kan man ha? Snart kan jag alfabetet igen. Jag som visste det här var om det här
So, as early as 1909, the Swedish Society for Racial Hygiene had been formed. I think it's the third one, if I'm not mistaken, in the world. I think the Germans and the British were first, but don't quote me on that. But it's
that makes sense.
it's one of the first ones, but not the first. But so it's a society for racial hygiene, and here we can see, as we've been saying throughout the episodes, that all of these terms are interchangeable, right? So here in Sweden at the time, they chose to call it racial hygiene, and as we also shown throughout the series, we've seen the connection between like early bourgeois feminism and the hygienic quote unquote questions
Right. Of the
and like
moralists.
eugenics. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's
I guess
the
you could
same
say
here.
that I guess you could say that racial hygiene is sort of like the practical aspect of racial biology. Like, so the two previous centuries have been a theory, and now it's sort of like becomes a praxis.
Exactly, and it's like we also spoke about this before, I think, with how they want to divide it into positive and negative eugenics. Because like racial hygiene and like the hygiene of the folk can also be to we want to eradicate syphilis, or like and then you can say like, oh, that's good, I don't want syphilis, it should be like good, we should have vaccines or whatever. There's no vaccine for syphilis, but you get my point.
The vaccine for them is to gas all prostitutes, I guess.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So on this board then of the Swedish Society for Racial Hygiene, which formed in 1909, we have the chairman of the name Wilhelm Lecce.
Lecce, I hope it is. No?
Lecce, yeah, it can be Lecce. Not milk.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. Wilhelm Milk. It's now you have a horror movie. The chairman for the Swedish Society for Racial Hygiene is Wilhelm Milk. Cattle programs.
And he's like super pale, like when you come into the office. He's like the Nazi officer in the Inglourious Bastards, right?
Yeah. So anyway, this guy, have you seen how he looks? Do you want a picture?
No. Yeah.
How
I
would you
I
imagine?
didn't know about. I mean, the idea now I have is like a very white guy, like almost transparent, but who looks like the
you
guy
can
with
see in the chat.
Okay, I'm gonna. Yeah, it was got very white hair at least.
Yeah.
Very symmetric shape of the skull, I guess. It looks like a box.
So anyway, this guy is the first chairman, and he had. If we just like dwell on him for 1 or 2 minutes, just like to
get
point
to know
out
him.
some,
get to know Mr. Lecce.
Exactly. So Lecce studied anatomy in Heidelberg under Carl Gegenbauer, and in Munich and Berlin, and embryology in Messina and Naples. He was the rector or the head of the Stockholm University, and in turn his like mentor Carl Gegenbauer had studied under some of the greats before him, like Rudolf Virchow, and I think we spoke about him before. So we see, it's always
that's big cell guy, right?
Yeah, so these people are one big club, and they like study under each other, etc., and they go and Gegenbauer, the mentor, then he was also a member of the Linnean Society of London, which we spoke about before.
We never really got into it, but we just sort of summarized that they pick up the walking stick or whatever you meant to call it from the Swedes, and so like the Linnean Society is transferred to London, right? Because
exactly.
I think
so the
Linnea's
Linnean
wife had to sell everything or something. She didn't have any money.
Exactly. She sold all the like the collections, the stuffed butterflies and
yeah,
yeah,
and all his texts and whatnot.
and the people in the good city of London, they bought it all, and they start this Linnean Society, and it's you can look it up on Wikipedia. There's a lot of names that are like adjacent to our story that pops up in this society.
It's
and
a bit
it
like
exists.
a who's who.
It exists to this day. And it's like one of those clubs, a gentleman's club for renowned
closet
scientists.
Nazis.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so he was honored as one of the greatest comparative anatomists of the day because of his labors and philosophical investigations into the structure and development of both vertebrate and invertebrate animals.
Is that whether they have a spine or not?
Yeah, exactly. And he was also a member of the American Academy of Arts and Sciences, another one of those clubs. And in turn, Gegenbauer would also have the physician Ernst Haeckel study. Haeckel, and this guy is a big Nazi. Yeah, big Nazi guy.
He was the popularizer of Darwin in Germany.
Exactly. And he also studied under Gegenbauer.
I see. Yeah, it's the same fucking people all the time. It's such a small group of people.
Yeah, it is. And so this is like just to give the Lecke that he studied under this guy then. So then he's like hooked up. So if we go back to Lecke, then he is also the co-author with Sven Hedin on his
Yes. Of course.
Yes.
Every fucking episode he comes back, man. I didn't want him in this one.
Yeah, so he's the co-author with Sven Hedin on his scientific results of one of his journeys to Central Asia.
Okay.
Which
one? The first one.
I think it's the third one.
That's the one where he lied about giving water to his Sherpa, right? Isn't it?
That's the second one, I think.
That's the second one. Okay.
But anyway, so Lecke then he writes some chapters in this book, because there are chapters on zoology in his. So Sven Hedin just employs his good friend Lecke to write some. I don't know why he would write some chapter because he wasn't on the trip. But that's just it's like,
I'm sure what I'm thinking is like Sven Hedin doesn't want to be the sort of caught off guard. So like when he's referring to things that he saw and stuff, he wants to make sure that like a zoologist double checks, oh, did you really see that plant over there? Does it really exist over there or not? Just adding things to like to make a more detailed picture of his travels that is also scientifically correct.
Yeah. So we get this then. Lecke, he was also active in some other cultural spheres, and not only the.
It's going to be some German secret societies.
So he was. He initiated the founding of the Sankt Erik Society in 1901. And
that's the old. That's where Swedenborg is buried, right? Like that's the guy who was killed outside Uppsala domkyrka, isn't it? Or
Sankt Erik.
Yeah, or is that the patron saint of Stockholm, not Uppsala, maybe?
Let me check. I didn't check
It's like he loses his head, doesn't he? Sankt Erik, like outside Uppsala Domkyrka, somebody cuts off his head.
Let me see. So Saint Eric is also called Eric the Holy or Eric the Lawgiver. He was king of Sweden from 1156 until his death in 1160. So he and he was the founder of the House of Eric, which ruled in Sweden.
It's
and let me see.
looks like the emblem of Stockholm, like the patron saint of Stockholm. But like, how did he die? Yeah, the coat of arms.
He was assassinated
right
by the Danes.
As always.
So yeah. So they assassinated him. And then he became
in Uppsala.
saint.
The current Trinity Church in Uppsala was founded in the late 13th century. It cannot be the church where Eric was slain. Okay. Maybe I was wrong, but there is some like ghost story about him losing the head there with Swedenborg or something, and then he becomes the patron saint of Sweden, right, and the capital of Stockholm, and that's like in the emblem and the coat of arms. So I guess if you're gonna have a Swedish Templar order, this is a good guy to start off with. So what do they get up to then? Why did he join them?
No, he founded them.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, so he founded this society, or like for Saint Eric, and it's like a non-profit organization today, and they promote knowledge of the history of Stockholm and support the preservation and development of the city's culture and aesthetics. And it's named after Saint Eric, the patron saint of Stockholm, like you said. And it's a bunch of rich guys getting together and like talking about
selling
like
artifacts from Retzius travels. It's like a black market guy.
Yeah. So and they exist today as well. And I don't know exactly what they do, but so he's the founder of this society.
All right.
And they also had some summer courses that they held for the masters, and he was a strong supporter actually of like popular education of the right kind, of course. And he was a member of the board of the Arbetarinstitutet in Stockholm, the like Institute for Workers, in 1887, and he was also the chairman for over like 20 years of this institute. As well as being one of the most popular lecturers at the Institute of the Workers. And also being a member of another group that was the Folkbildningsförbund. It's like the
people's education, I guess.
Exactly, the people's education's society or something like
that. So he's a bit similar then to like the guy who started Skansen, like that Hazelius, like that. When they wanted to get this picture across of the Aryans, they built this outdoor zoo that we talked about, right? And it was to show like how did the Aryans once upon a time live. So he's kind of like a similar guy to Hazelius. Like he wants to popularize the Aryo-heroic legacy and like make sure that even workers knows about this, because as you suggested before, they've got other things to care about, but he wants to like make sure that they care about this as well.
And he has and that's not all, because like we said, like he was the chairman for the Swedish Society for Racial Hygiene, and those that we mentioned earlier. But he's also a member of the Physiographical Society in Lund, the Society of Science in Uppsala, the Society of Science and Literature in Gothenburg, as well as the Royal Swedish Academy of Sciences, and over 10 different scientific societies abroad. So he was like a very academic socialite.
Yeah, for sure.
Being in all this, but the one that like stuck with me is this Institute of the Workers, Arbetarinstitutet. And what is
what's
it?
that?
Because it sounds like something that is the
ABF, like the
but
ABF.
something that would be like in of the workers' movement, right?
But exactly.
It would be translated into something like the Stockholm's Workers Institute, and it was founded in 1880, and it's the oldest lecture association in the Nordic countries. And the initiator and first director was Anton Nyström. And Nyström was the son of the wholesaler Lars Fredrik Nyström and Carolina Kristina Silverstolpe. He was a student at Uppsala University, and he was studying there, and later at Karolinska University with Retzius, and obtained a doctorate in medicine in Lund. Nyström was an assistant field doctor in the Danish-German War in 1864, and he also studied in Vienna, Paris, and London. He then settled in Stockholm and devoted himself as a doctor to skin conditions and mental illnesses. Here he worked for a few decades to spread the social, political, and religious teachings of positivism. And in 1879, he founded a positivist society in Stockholm, of which he was the first director. This society had adopted the general tenets of August Comte.
Yeah, of course. These people are sect members, man.
Yeah. Nyström was, among other things, an expert on venereal diseases. And he also profiled himself as a sex educator, especially after the popular science work Könslivet, meaning like the
life
genitals.
Of the
Genitalia.
genitals. Yeah.
And he published that book, and he also taught the sex educator Elise Ottensen Jensen to try out diaphragm. And he was also very trying to counteract alcoholism, antisociality, and crime, and the influence of extremist agitators within the working class. And this is why he was guided by the conviction of the necessity of the popular education. And this is why he then created the Stockholm's Workers Institute in 1880.
Like an infiltrator.
Yeah, in 1880 already.
That's really early.
So this is almost 40 years before the Bolshevik Revolution.
Yeah.
40 years, and almost 37 years before the
right around the time of the big mass parties, right? Like that's roughly when they start to pop up.
And like being, a rich guy with his mother is a nobility and his father is like a salesman,
That's interesting because it's like this is the Nazi strategy, right? Like why they put the red in the flag and, why they name the National Socialists, like all this sort of, parading as if you are part of the workers' movement. But actually, they've got other interests, obviously.
And he, the Institute became like the starting point for the popular science lecture movement within Sweden. And it got state subsidies amounting to what would be now some millions to set up over 500 lecture halls within different municipalities in Sweden.
Yeah, that's like an educational apparatus on its own.
Exactly.
500. Yeah.
And we have this guy then, William Lecke, that's also a part of it, and being then on the board of this Swedish Society for Racial Hygiene. So this was just like a rabbit hole of its own. To see how early, because this was news to me, to see how early this infiltration of the workers' movement was. And to
I would never have imagined it went back that far, because this is the time when the first social democratic parties pop up, right? Like it's 1880s, 1870s. It's like Nietzsche time.
Exactly. And it's just to give you, like in 1880, that's 3 years before Karl Marx dies in 1883.
Yeah.
So this is like very early.
Yeah, they're like hot on the potato, or what do we say? Do they say in English?
And then we like get into, because I wanted to find out more, what kind of lectures, and here we can just like deduce, what it is, because I didn't have the time to do a lot of research, but I guess it's not like how to conduct a revolution or how to grab power of the means of production. I guess it's something along the lines, like him being a doctor and being an expert on venereal diseases, etc. It's like this hygiene questions and stuff like this.
Yeah. Who's got some other priorities than the nationalization of the industries? Yeah, might be.
Yeah, but so if we go back then to this Society of Racial Hygiene, we have some other names as well, also like heavy hitters, but I just say them and leave them out there. But we have like Olof Kinberg, Wilhelm Hultkrantz.
Hultkrantz is also involved later, right? Like in the institute as well.
Yes, a lot of these people will be involved in the institute, and a lot of them are because exactly like Lecce, they have like spent a great deal of years down in the continent studying like under the big names. So this is like an international movement.
Yeah, cosmopolitan.
And during the 1920s, the so-called danger of degeneration, the supposed deterioration of the population and the poisoning of the social body became a topic of heavy debate in Sweden. And there was concern that people with inferior characteristics were having more children than people with the right economic, social, and cultural background, and that the Swedish people would eventually acquire what were considered to be inferior characteristics. And they were concerned with that, like the Malthusian, population control, basically.
Yeah, it's the same story all over the bourgeoisie world at this time.
Yeah, and like today.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, this the looting of the stock.
Yeah. And in the early 19th century, ideas of the purity of one's own people emerged alongside the ideas of the nation state and the soul of the people and other jimbo jambo like this. And it's during this time that ideas about democracy as well begins to take shape. And
that's interesting.
Yeah, and then it's also a big question of like who should benefit from the new democracy and what do we mean by like the people.
Who are the demos?
Yeah, and here they have a clearly defined answer, and it's not the same answer as the popular movements try to,
the unions and so on.
Yeah, and suffragettes, the women's movement for voting rights, etc., etc. And they like try to hook on ticks, leeches on this, and
yeah.
But it's what they do, right?
Yeah, for sure. They have they can't do anything by themselves. They just inherently reactionary, just like waiting. Oh, do you do this? No. This is exactly what we are against. Good thing you said it.
Yeah, and I mean, during the 19th century as well, and in the mid 19th century, towards the late and then into the early 20th century, we see that the methods had began to develop to measure different parts of the body with the skull measuring, for example, and we see a lot of different methods that like contest and compete with each other, but it's always trying to like further the agenda that like started with the Anders Retzius, the father of Gustav,
Right.
who was like a professor of anatomy and was associated with the Karolinska Institute in Stockholm. And he was the guy, if you remember, who wanted to divide humans into two main types, like the long-skulled and the short-skulled. But then they also started to like measure with the jaw as well. So you get like an extra axis, you know, not just like x-axis, but a y-axis, and they will add more as well to like in their sophistry to make this
Like a 3D cephalic index, basically.
yeah, to 3D print the skull.
Yeah. Like the Anunnaki.
Yeah, and just a refresher then that like the long skulls were the good ones, right? You know, the with the bigger brains. It was the Northern Europeans, the pure breeds, the intelligent ones of Nordic Germanic Aryan stock. They were considered being like more intelligent, enterprising, etc. Um, and they explained this with having a more developed brain that was bigger, and the short-skulled stock are all the others, the ones that would not fit into the pure breed society.
It's so rudimentary, man. Like, I don't know. You don't have to be a genius to come up with this stuff. Like, it's just somebody playing with Legos or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's you know, because it's in the beginning you can say like, oh, you divide them into, you know, 5 different races or categories, you know, that you can be kind of naive, you know, like, oh, people in Africa look different from people in Asia, etc. But here, you know,
Okay.
they start to like fit in everybody then into like the short skulls. So it's not only like based on appearance, the exterior appearance, right? So you have like Jews, gypsies, black people, but you also have like people that were considered lazy, passive, mentally handicapped, homosexuals, and to say that like they were all short skulled. And I guess like just by their own standards, I don't think, you know, if you would have measured the skull of every homosexual, that they would have the same skull shape. It's
For
like
sure not. Like, there's no system to this. Like, at least with the continents, it's like, yes, because there's like geographical, you know, tendencies of like people having been separated for thousands of years. Surely they'll like, you know, look somewhat different. But this is just like, I mean, he must have been the first one to discredit his own theory. Like, how many skulls before you start to realize, like, yeah, okay, there's absolutely no point to this whatsoever, but I'm gonna, you know, not lose my face and just keep doing this.
Yeah, and for people that have like read Plekhanov, you know, with the I think, I don't know the English name because I read it in Swedish, but like I think the monistic history or something of where in which he talks about like within theory the contradiction and the struggle between materialist and idealist conceptions of the world, where like materialists have always like the materialist school has always been on the side of like the oppressed, not
Since
only like in
Epicurus.
exactly like throughout the class societies, and we see that it's like a conflict between these, and that, you know, sometimes they you make new advancements within like industry or some scientific field or whatever, and you know the superstructure, they have to adjust for this new reality, and they become like more materialist for like a short while or some, but usually like more vulgar materialist, right? Because they're not being dialectic. And we can see this, like I think with Linnea, for example, because it's like, even if he was a stupid piece of shit, he's still somehow more, you know, based when he's like, oh, look, this guy looks different,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
now they're so far up their own asses. It's like become like the further they develop their theories, the more idealist they become, right?
yeah.
Because it's
Yeah,
like now it's just like really jimbo jumbo, and it's
yeah. I mean, there is something to like measuring different kinds of bird beaks, because there are hundreds of different ones, and then they have different kinds of like utilities, maybe of like what the bird might use their beak for. But like, yeah, like you say, like now there is like you've lost us. Like you're like even you yourself must realize there's nothing to this. Like,
yeah, and I mean, if we look today, now it's with the genes and with the IQ and etc. Giving spoilers, and then we have like this. What was the name of the guy? Michio Kaku, something like you will have like the next, the racial hygiene or the racial biology of our time will be, with like black holes and AI, and like it would be just pure realm of fantasy,
yeah, but like that, like now, that guy who's buying all the Swedish bone marrow, like Brian Johnson, like like he really thinks that he's not going to die. Like, why would you like let him be this fool? Like, it's crazy. And like how they share blood with his own son and his own father, like it's so incestuous and dirty and gross. Like they are behaving like the villains of like 1500 folklore stories. Like
Dracula.
Yes, and like in America, I don't know. I saw some report from like 2017 that like 90% of people who go to these, sperm banks ask for like tall, blonde, and blue-eyed stock, like rather than asking about intelligence or something like that. It's already degrading. Like they don't even care about IQ anymore. Like all those, this complicated, like the complicated bullshit is already too boring. So they're like back to the basics again, like, yes, give me some of that good cephalic index. Like, I don't care about like how it's going to do on the SAT score. I want some good looking. Like,
yeah, and I mean, like both would be, weird and like racist,
yes.
but you could still like if you say that you want to have, oh, I would like to have sperm of someone that is tall or that is just have red hair color or something because for aesthetics, it would be like weird, but it's still something. But to then transcribe like to attach certain characteristics of like the soul or the like social characters and whatnot, it's just so it's like madness on another level than just being racist, that you think that I think like these
black people look
ugly
scary.
or something like this. It's just,
it's too sophisticated and at the same time too rudimentary. I don't know, like how.
Yeah, and it's because of the like the more their like instruments of measuring etc. become quote unquote sophisticated. It's just that they don't like they don't even know what they're doing themselves. So it becomes more detached from reality. Yeah. But anyway, so now
where are we in the story?
now, but so like what they had in at this time is they had the like reliable scientific method of measurement that they had like agreed upon, and once that was like found out, it would be possible then to calculate the mathematical precision, which people would be good and which would be bad, and you could do like schematics, right? And we see this with we talked about the Retzius when they did the skull measuring for the conscripts of the Swedish army.
Yeah, like the 47,000 people or something.
Yeah, and when they start, so this is like before the institute, right? But we see it like within the zeitgeist that they start doing this, and especially then like within Sweden, they are very like on the frontier of this new. And also, like we spoke about, I think it was in the last episode, in Denmark, for example, they were not as much into this with the measuring, and they had more, germ-based.
Yeah, they've gone over to the lab already. Like they've dropped physical anthropology.
And that's because of the yeast and the like the brewing. So of course they have like a different material base that will influence and to fund different types of research, etc. But so this is like for the Swedish context. But I think that at this time this was the one that was more prevalent, like across the world as well. That the Danes were really like a minority, and then in the end they would prove to be, like further
on the
ahead.
right side of history, or like they of that would be later be dominant.
Yes, but at the time they were like in the minority. But so then like in Sweden, so in the 1890s or 1897 to be specific, they had this, the first major nationwide survey of the conscript. With they did the skull index of 47,000 conscripts, and to like. And this is also somehow, the start of big data,
For sure.
to before computers, but to have it all on the transcripts, the cards, index cards, right?
I think that's also like such an interesting thing, like when you like, because we talking so much about like the early days of statistics here, and like today people think statistics is everything. And like big data, of course, at least like, in these sort of technognostic fields, people really believe like, and the capitalist system as a whole really believes in data as well, right? Like it's more expensive now than oil. Isn't that like a common thing to say? But and you look at these old books, like, because as you say, they don't have computers. So like, they're like publishing these 7 to 10 kilo books, which are like, it's just page upon page upon page, like literally writing down, everything they measured of like 47,000 people, like just, like long charts of like just showing off numbers, and like just really turning big data into like an actual physical fetish. Of course we don't get the same feeling today. I mean, the Matrix and like movies like that play on the same thing, right? Like with digital code sort of going off into eternity, and you get this sort of feeling of like, wow, everything is made out of numbers, and only Neo can see that, and once you do realize that, like, you can bend space-time and you get super abilities, and here, like, it's the same idea, but it's in a more like analog, but at the same time sort of cutting edge medium of their time, which is sort of like, the mass production of like cheap books and stuff, that you can sort of do this. I mean, it would be impossible just 50 years earlier to print something like that.
Yeah, and like the archives that they had, to
the photographs, and I mean,
yeah,
imagine if you would have to paint every single picture that, like, the Race Biology Institute made, like again, 20, 30 years earlier, impossible. Now they have the photography, and they can, mass produce big data in physical form.
Yeah. So by the turn of the century, racial biology had become very popular, and we had this as well, like that we saw within the UK with leading names like Francis Galton. And here I have it actually in text. I wrote it down that it was the Brits that were first. They had the Institute of Racial Biology. It was established 2 years earlier in England as part of the University of London. So there we have it. Then it's the But anyway, and then we see that we have, like we spoke about, I think 2 episodes ago, with this 1912, the first major international conference on racial biology was held in London. And then in 1918, this starts to pop up the German Heredity Institute. So now it's not only like on the racial biology, but also on heredity, and a lot of like these types of are like growing like mushrooms all over the Western world, right? As well as in the United States, where they also had a big movement going back to the Civil War, and like we spoke about before, with like the breeding and like cattle farmers, and also like with the slave owners doing racial mixing, trying to and
sort of like the alchemical days of racial hygiene.
Some very like dark, insidious stuff that we didn't touch too much upon.
We suggested maybe making it a backdrop to some of the episodes of the second season, but not this time.
Yeah. But so that's a whole other topic of in the American South. But so we have all of these like associations popping up, and this would be the backdrop to, and like also the lobby organization for like taking it to the next level, then to have like their own institute, right, with state funding. The first is to have a more loosely based society of like-minded individuals, and then to like start exactly, and they do a lot of this cross-political networking, and we have seen names pop up with the Rockefeller foundations, and funding this type, because it really is like a global movement, right? And we have it, as I said, in Japan, in Australia, in the US, in Europe, in all of the like big capitalist imperial powers. They have their own version of this.
Yeah, then the guy we're gonna get to, right? Like he went to Carnegie and Ford, I think personally, or at least in letter, to ask them, you know, for money and stuff before the state took over the funding.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we start to cook here. We jump forward a bit.
So in March
1919.
Yes, then the Swedish Society for Racial Hygiene, with Herman Lundborg as a driving force behind it, organized an exhibition at the Royal Academy of Fine Arts in Stockholm under the name Folktypsutställningen, or the Folktype Exhibition. At this exhibition, under headings such as Finnish and Lap types, or Swedish Jews, or Gypsies, but also under headings as pure Nordic types. The audience could then study a long series of photographs of different Swedish folk types of varying ethnic backgrounds. The photographs could depict short-legged ragamuffins, dirty gypsies, insane Jews, or mixed-raced vagrants and criminals. The exhibition textbook, for example, described the Sami as a backward form of human development, while the eastern neighbors in Finland were described as follows. The most serious weakness of the Finnish race is its lack of organization and its lacks sense of social order and law. In contrast, visitors were treated to photographs of blonde, tall, well-built women and men who were said to represent the pure, healthy Nordic race.
I saw some pictures from this exhibition, and it's huge, like, you know, like murals and stuff, like, you know, photographs that are like, you know, in square meters, like, you know, 5-6 square meter photographs along the wall, and then, like, you know, smaller ones with the comparisons like you describe here. And I put forward this theory before, you know, that I'm it's somewhat has been established, you know, that there was a strong connection between the Race Institute and like the police, for example, when they were like categorizing prostitutes, that they wanted to make it look like that, you know, prostitutes were generally like Romas or Jews or like some kind of race that they didn't like. And you see like on some of these pictures, all of a sudden there's just like a naked woman there, and then it's just like, but and then the you know, the Nordic equivalent will be dressed in like in some kind of made up folklore dress or whatever, you know. So they really want to like create this like contrast, like on a cultural, moral, and like criminological level as well, you know. Like it isn't just anthropology as we think of it as today.
Yeah, and we spoke about this previous, I think, both in the episode with Gustav Retzius when he was in the US, but also on the like eugenics conference, that these societies, like when they have these lobby organizations, then they like start to, you know, create uh, uh, opinion to lobby and to like reach a larger audience, and they do it with like these exhibitions and that were really popular at the time, because they had a lot of like exhibitions for, you know, um, inventions and stuff as well, like for machines of industry, and so they make it into this popular aesthetic of like people could go with their whole families, and in some cases you could even see like live specimens of
Like at
people
the
of
expo in Chicago that we talked about.
exactly. And this exhibition, the folk type exhibition, was a huge success, and it was visited by almost 1/10 of Stockholm's adult population.
Okay, all right, yeah.
Yeah, and so like almost 10% of the adults, and then you would see it's like, of course, more like well-to-do. It's not that the proletarian in the harbor like goes to this exhibition, but like teachers, priests, clerks, etc.
Politicians, military officials.
Yeah, and so, and it's a huge success. So over the next 6 months, the exhibition travels. It's like a traveling circus. So it goes to 4 other major cities within Sweden, and the audience continues to flock. And several prominent Swedes support the exhibition, including the artist Anders Zorn, the explorer Sven Hedin, the writers Werner von Heidenstam, Ellen Key, Nobel Prize winner Selma Lagerlöf, etc., etc. And it's like brought up in all the big newspapers, and it's
And the publishing houses, right? Like Bonnier, Nordstedt och Söner.
Exactly, and I read like a little anecdote actually of like how I think it speaks to Herman Lundborg and like these cowards that they are, because apparently at the exhibition they didn't say that the Jews were the what they actually thought about it, because they wanted to have funding from like Bonnier, for example, is a Jewish family, so they consciously said that the Jews are almost as good as the Nordics, etc. But they didn't believe this, but they did it solely on trying to get in this, because you would see a lot of like a Jewish scientists as well that were um, applauding this. So in the first instance, they didn't categorize the Jews as the gypsies, for example. That would come later, and they still thought it like behind closed doors and within their science. And Lundborg was an anti-Semite, a huge one, but that they were like they're so sneaky,
Yeah, for sure. And I saw that like Lundborg, didn't he write a book about this exhibition that he translated into English as well? And then he had like a list of like Swedish American industrialists that he sent copies to, like to ask for more money as well. Like, so they're like really, they have this one foot in like of funding and like economics as well, like they can't go all out.
And then they like ride on this wave of public opinion and this being a new thing, this oh, did you see this good exhibition? Because just like the year after is when the motion is submitted to both chambers of the Riksdag, to the parliament. And they lay forward this motion of the instituting this State Institute of Racial Biology.
So that's how the Happy 20s began in Sweden on January 13, 1920.
Yes, and one of those that is behind this motion is a guy by the name of Alfred Petrén, who was a social democratic politician who was also a psychiatrist and racial biologist. And here we see that it's like the social democrats, the guy that is like lobbying for this within parliament is a social democratic politician. So it's not just so they are like on this in the beginning, and I would guess that this Alfred Petrén is like one of these conservative, more right wing, because you have a spectrum within the Social Democratic Party as well. Of course, you have the more grassroots,
like union connected.
Exactly, and then you have these guys as well, and they try to like. So then they start to like attach this eugenics program to the Social Democratic Party as well. But I have some quotes from this motion, because and I'm thinking if you want to read it to the.
All right, I can do that.
So this is what was written in the motion and like presented to the parliament, and it's written by Petrén. Yes.
I see. All right.
And I think it's like the best way of let them speak for themselves, and then we will see. It would be better if I just talk shit about him, because
we don't have to demonize the Social Democrats. Like they do a pretty good job themselves of like showing their true colors during these days. All right, so quote, racial biology, which is working towards a high and noble goal, the protection of the family against degeneration and the promotion of good racial characteristics, is growing stronger every day. It is based on the view that there is no higher value in a country than the material of its people, especially if, as in our case, it is of good quality. The task of this research is to investigate and clarify in detail all the conditions of heredity and environment which cause an increase or decrease in the intrinsic value of a people. Only in this way can firm guidelines and directives be given to the state authorities in their endeavors to promote the healthy development of the people and the race. End of quote. Yeah.
So what do you make of this quote, Marcus?
Yeah, I mean, this could be, done by like any of the top dogs of the NSDAP as well, right? Like Backe or Himmler or, Rosenberg, like it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's very hard to distinguish them from, the fascists. Basically.
Yeah, and in this motion, then Petrén emphasizes the importance of embracing racial biology research that had been so successfully carried out over the past 19 years by researchers from the US, Germany, and the other Nordic countries, and referred in the motion to the cultural peoples, meaning the peoples of the West. Furthermore, he goes on to emphasize that the successful associate professor Herman Lundborg had already stressed the importance of racial biology research as early as 1904. He did this in a speech to the Uppsala Medical Association. You want to read the
Okay, and
quote?
This is Lundborg himself.
Yes, in the speech in Uppsala.
Okay, quote, the people...
Which is quoted within the motion then, yes.
Okay, quote, the people who in time learn to realize the importance of hereditary hygiene and are able to meet its demands and can face the future with calm. A people which is steadily degenerating will not be able in the long run to keep up the struggle for existence, however militarily armed it may appear to be. We must remember that bullets and gunpowder do not protect us from tuberculosis, alcoholism, nervous and mental disease, and other such social enemies. It would be far better if the cultural states, instead of turning their armor and weapons against each other, would use their income and combined strength to fight enemies of this kind. End of quote. Yeah. Yeah, it's the same thing. Like I've been looking at, the Nazi party in Sweden, like how they're relating, to the Ukraine war. And it's like the same exact this last part here, like, that the white brothers shouldn't be fighting against each other. And that, that they should find another common enemy. And like, in the end, of course, it's because the Jews want them to fight against each other. So that's why Ukraine happened.
Yeah, go on.
No, I was also thinking, like this idea of like it's a war and there's also like an internal enemy. It's like very reminiscent of like Carl Schmitt, right? Like the juridical philosopher of the Third Reich, in like how it's more important, like I don't know, like on a Gramsci also talked about this as well, like on a like this higher sort of stagnated levels of imperialism. It's not so much about like war as in a military state, but like more of a police state. Like that you need like an internal enemy, like you need social enemies and control of the of your own populace and I don't know. It's interesting that he would be so like. Already in 1904, like seeing like the future of imperialism as a sort of stagnated police state rather than a military state.
Yeah, and from the mid 19th century, alcoholism had been like a major social problem in Sweden that was costing the state and the society huge amounts of money, and it's in the wake of this problem that the temperance movement grew ever stronger and began to become a movement that started to gain more and more influence in Swedish society. And Petrén then utilized this in the motion when he is referring to temperance movements and alcoholism as like a social disease, right?
Yeah.
And we have another quote here, if you want to read also from the motion.
Sure. Quote, one may take any position on temperance movements, but one cannot deny that they prepare the ground for racial biology. It is perfectly true, as Professor V. Hultkrantz emphasizes, that the credit for the fact that interest in racial hygiene problems is steadily increasing in our country is due in no small measure to the temperance movement, which has emphasized our responsibility to future generations and the necessity of taking strong measures to avert the danger of family degeneration. End of quote. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very different here from the Danes. Like again and again, see how, like the Danes are really, the lab approach is really different from this moral, social hygiene approach.
Yes. And like we see how they, latch on to it because it was a real problem with alcoholism and stuff. But this is a social problem, of course, with the working conditions, etc. But they immediately latch on to this and make it, degenerative problem of being of the pure breed, right? And you can only fix it with eugenics, basically.
Right. And it's also like they, like you said earlier, like they're leeching because it's already a popular movement, like among religious people, but also like just people in general have seen this problem and are like organizing against it. So they're like, handing them a solution.
Yeah. And in the motion, Petrén goes on to say that the state consists not only of individuals, but also of families. And he argues that it is of the utmost importance to collect the most comprehensive material possible to investigate entire families about their genetic background and hereditary diseases. According to Petrén, the only solution for collecting such material is to set up a State Institute for Racial Biology and thus centralize the resources for research. To reinforce this argument, he refers to Swedish research, which he says is a world leader in the new science of racial biology, and that voices from abroad are also making themselves heard and pushing for the establishment of a Swedish institute. So he's saying that the world looks to us, that we need to go first into this darkness. Yeah. And which we saw as well with like Rockefeller funding and etc. And this is like our, I think, thesis that they could use Sweden as good idiots to do research that maybe couldn't be done within Britain or within the US. And then there's lobbying for, so this like scratching them, and being like, oh, you good little Swedes, come on. And they like swallow it whole, when this is like a working thesis or a hypothesis,
right. Because if they say that the Nordics are the best, if they say that the Nordics are the best race, then surely the Nordics should be the best at race science as well, right? Like it goes hand in hand somehow.
Yeah. So, and we see it then from Alfred Petrén as well, that he's like using this argument to say that like the world is looking to us.
That's interesting. We were right somehow.
Yeah, this is because according to Petrén, there is one Swedish racial biologist who is at the forefront of racial biology research, and that is Herman Lundborg, who has already amassed a wealth of material through his studies in Norrland. To further strengthen his arguments, Petrén presents statements from various prominent racial biology researchers. For example, Professor Carl Magnus Furst, who was the guy that, together with Retzius, did this study of the conscripts, right?
Right.
And do you want to read this?
Okay.
The two quotations?
Sure. So from Fürst then, or first, that's your sidekick. Quote, "It is the duty of the state to take up the idea of establishing a medical institute for heredity research. The Swedish people have a claim to be placed under planned scientific investigation in order to become fundamentally known, to be nurtured and protected in their ongoing development, wherever they live and reside in our country." And then he goes on further down, quoting Herman Lundborg, quote, "An important wish is the establishment of a central research institute for racial biology. The actual headquarters, as I have previously called it, from such an institute, impulses and initiatives should emanate to different parts of the country, and collected material should be sent to it in an uninterrupted stream of processing. The institute, which would have the task of exploring and mapping the country in terms of genealogy and racial biology, would also constitute a supreme authority on questions of heredity and those of racial hygiene. At present, there is no institution or academy in the country that can take over such a task for lack of funds. The efforts and resources of individual researchers are far too inadequate. In my opinion, there is a real national and cultural need here, which should be remedied." End of quote. I think it's interesting, like this, again, back to this, the creation of like a, like a police state, because like supreme authority on the question of heredity and those of racial hygiene. I really don't think, I mean, like we've already been suggesting, their racial ideas are so stupid that I think they don't really believe in it themselves somehow, and they also will cut back on it if they need money from Jews. I really think again, it's just a new tool of controlling the working class, right? Like they just need, as he says, a supreme authority on these questions, so that it doesn't just become a matter of research and academia and so on. It has to become like a repressive apparatus with certain jurisdiction to carry out this control.
Yeah, exactly. So it really is like this, and it's like that. The quote of Karl Marx with his philosophers have only interpreted the world in various ways. The point is to change it.
Yeah.
They really took that Marx quote
Yeah.
and ran with it. That is just like, we have done all this shit just to explain the world, but now we need to take the power for ourselves to
Yes.
So Lundborg goes on and being like quoted within this motion, like bringing up a lot of economical aspects in regards to like why you need a centralized institute instead of just having these more like Sven Hedin or Retzius type approaches of getting like a rich patron to fund your expedition.
Right.
Those were like things of the past, and Lundborg had done some of them on his own, like being a professor in Uppsala before he was like the head of the institute. So he had like done expeditions of his own going up to the north of Sweden, but he saw that this was not like a systematic way of like dealing with the problems that he saw.
No, exactly. Because it just becomes, again, like this sort of pop scientist heroes who sort of just entertain the general public with new theories and stuff. Like you're not going to get any mass incarceration from that.
And Petrén also brings up a third prominent scientist to speak on his behalf, Herman Nilsson Ehle, who was a professor of genetics at Lund University. And he was close
Svalöv,
to...
right?
Yeah, he
this
was
is the agriculturalist, isn't it?
I don't know, but he was close to the nationalist political movement
Yeah.
and would later be pro-German during the Nazi regime.
Yeah.
And his contribution to the motion states as following. Marcus, if you will do the honor.
Okay. Herman Nilsson Ehle then. Quote, "It is to be hoped that the Swedish Institute of Racial Biology, which has been proposed in recent years by a number of authoritative quarters and which has been strongly advocated, will no longer have to wait for its definitive realization. To the theoretical heredity researcher, it seems obvious that the great and powerful task must be placed in the hands of medical science. Here are the necessary prerequisites, which consists in an in-depth knowledge of the human organism and which exclude dilettantism in research, dilettantism in research, and in the future possible practical application of eugenics. It is above all necessary that the whole thing should be seen, so to speak, through the eyes of a physician. The comprehensive care of public health will best prevent one-sided or hasty projects in the difficult field of practical eugenics, and security will be gained for a humane handling of the whole." End of quote. Yeah.
Yeah, do you feel it?
This is I'm pretty sure this is the guy who would later work with the SS Anarbet to get the stolen germplasm from Lysenko and Vavilov's seed banks back to Sweden. And like when the first geneticist conference is in Sweden after the war, this is, he sets this up together with Sven Hedin to funnel all the war loot into Sweden to start or to do some of the early work of what's going to become the Green Revolution later. And so
And I
he's
have,
like, no, sorry.
Yeah, no, but yeah, so I have some other quotes here as well, but I think they're like more of the same. But what we can see from this is that like Alfred Pertén in the parliamentary motion, he makes it sound as if all of society's problems or like comes or stems from inherited diseases, and that the conditions would be solved only if a state racial biology institute is established. And he just goes on to reinforce this throughout the motion, like citing the leading figures, etc. So it's really like presenting it that is a necessity,
Yeah. What role did he have? What role did he play within the social? Was he prime minister at some time? No, he never was, right?
No.
Like, what kind of
not.
minister was he?
What he? Let me see. He is. I don't think he is actually like. He's not a. He doesn't have a cabinet, so he's just like one of those. Like a member of parliament, right? But he's not part of the like government with a cabinet of his own.
Yeah, he's setting up his own cabinet, I guess.
Yeah, but so anyway, to conclude with this, and the motion, it like passes without any like debate, basically, from both the right and like the Liberal Party, the Social Democrats. It was really like a great political interest in setting up this like long-awaited institute.
Yeah.
And the result of this motion was that it was unanimously passed in both chambers of the Riksdag. And on the 1st of January in 1922, the world's first state racial biology institute opened the doors in Uppsala with Herman Lundborg as director.
Right. Now, there it is. Yeah. Wow, I'm getting really like sick, like to my stomach, because I don't know, like because we've been reading about this for so long that it's starting to like sort of take shape in my head that like what would the world look like if you just think like this all the time? That these people are like constantly telling themselves again and again, and especially with like, I don't know, with Nilsson Ele, like the agriculturalist guy, you know, like this whole worldview, and like not only worldview, like of the social world, but like also the natural world. Like in the end, there's nowhere to escape, you know. Like that's why he's so, like, it's really like a master signifier for them, you know, like how it orientates all questions of life, and like how everything would just be better if we do this, and there's like no nuance, and there's no, you know, I don't know, like it's so hard. It's just like flashes sometime like of having like read these people and like seeing how they think, and like, you know, just get this claustrophobic sense of like where, like how would you be able to talk sense to these people? It's impossible. Like you can't talk to them. Like it's
no, you
yeah.
can't.
Yes. They're so far gone, man, but they have so much power, and you know, they could so easily get this power again. Like it's yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Where we're not going really further into time now, right? Like this is sort of where this season stops, but we might have some questions surrounding this setting up of this institute, or how did you think about like approaching this from now on?
I was thinking that, like, as you say, like in the timeline, we will not go much further to see, because I mean this institute exists until the is it the 60s or 50s, the late 50s, but anyway,
60s,
so
I think, and
so it's it exists for like a long time, right? And
half a century,
yes,
more.
and
Yeah.
yeah, and it's closed down in 1958. That's the time, and then it like survives in some form or another. So, but that's like another story. But I'm thinking because from here it will branch out into a lot of different, you know, experiments,
that's the problem.
and etc. Yeah.
And we don't want to get into World War II either, like, because then we open up the whole actual Nazi box as well, and we have to sort of see how Sweden worked with Germany and everything, and it's gonna be, I mean, that's really like why we need a second season to sort of get to the Fourth Reich via the Third Reich. And this is how, like, the build-up of it all took place, basically.
Yeah.
So we have everything in place then, basically. Now the institute has been founded, and as we said, like we won't be able to go further into time. But we should make one last point about this, because besides the obvious interest in creating a repressive apparatus that is going to control the working class in ways that they would never have expected, right? Like it's a kind of secret weapon, this idea of like heredity, right? Like you can just pick out people for whatever reason and sterilize them or put them in institutions, as we saw that they did in Denmark. And criminalize everybody who doesn't have a job as as lazy minded, as a sort of psychological type and category, and then also attack immigrants and create scapegoats. And then we have like all the like the philosophy of like the worldview of these people that we've been dealing with throughout this first series. But we must also, as we have done before, ask, the economic question, right, Sebi? Like Sebi, there was, of course, also like an economic aspect to this, like why they
Exactly,
created.
and we would see why is this both with Retzius and Lundborg, like before the institute, but also then later during the institute is this fixation with like the Sami people and
Right.
people of the north, because as they held anti-Semitic views, and like they had their views on Romas and the Jews, etc. The major part of their work was more connected to the Sami, and here we can see that it's because of direct economical gains, right? Because you have a people in the north of a nomadic way of life
Mm-hmm.
that is in conflict with the new frontier in Sweden, in Norrland, and the area in the north of Sweden, which is like a contested, is huge. It's like larger than Minnesota,
Mm-hmm.
for example. So it's
Yeah.
and they have a vast resources.
I mean, it's going to be the mines for the Third Reich, right? Like a lot of like the German war industry is going to depend on the iron ore that they're going to extract from Sami land in many
Yeah,
ways.
you have three major trade goods, like resources that you want to extract. One is ore. The second one is forestry,
Right.
and the third one is hydropower, because you have a
Yes.
lot of rivers, and being so far north, when they like freeze over, and then when they thaw in spring, it's really strong currents, right? So they're like
Hmm.
ideal for hydro power dams, etc. Still to this day, a lot of the energy surplus in Sweden comes from Norrland,
Yeah.
from the rivers. You had this like the Norrland question, that was like how should we deal with the colonization of Norrland, and the question was how to make use of Norrland and its natural resources, and a recurring description was the slumbering millions, referring to the iron in the soil, the untouched forests, and the untapped waterfalls and rivers. There were several reasons why this was more relevant than before, especially in the late 19th and early 20th century. Emigration to the US was very high during this period, um, and the government in Sweden, they were really worried about like losing all this labor power
Hmm.
of people moving to the US to get a better life for themselves, right? And they set up a national association against emigration, and they give people some money to like go and colonize Norrland instead. So huge political movement that you want to build up Norrland as an alternative to the US, where you have a lot of undeveloped land and endless opportunities for new settlements, work, and resources. And it was argued that there was no reason why a farmer should have less chance of success in Norrland than in southern Sweden. This was something that they were really motivated by to get people to get labor.
Because this is also like was already a question for Linnaeus, right? Like, but then back then, like in the end of the 1700s, they were still thinking, maybe we can grow crops over there. Like they didn't yet have this idea of either.
And you didn't have like steamships and railways, and it was of course the trek up must have been much harder.
And you didn't have like the sulfates to make something out of the wood, so like you couldn't make paper, for example, and the mining would have been impossible, like you say, without the transport. So like it was like a different approach, but now it's a regained interest in the natural resources of the north, basically.
Yeah, maybe you can even call it Peru of the North, Marcus.
Yes, you could, I guess. But and I wanted to make like one episode, but I can talk a little bit about it now. Like this. It's such an interesting story. I don't know if you did you watch that documentary that I sent to you about like one of those timber barons who was a pedophile, like that married like the 12-year-old. Did we talk about it on this show? We didn't, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
but
it was so sick.
I didn't see it though. I have it like saved, like bookmarked, but I haven't had the time to watch it.
They were
because like, when you gave the description, I was like, maybe not on a Friday night or something.
It was. I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't made in a super dark way, but like I can imagine that there are way worse cases as well. And I don't know how much truth they really told in that story, because it was like a relative who was talking about, like a relative of the young girl who had been married off, right? And sort of tried to spin it in a sort of, I don't know, like the Cinderella way, like, oh, what is a life at the castle, because she was from a sort of poor family, or like a failing bourgeois family that was going bankrupt. And the father had been invited by this timber baron to like their estate. And then like a year later, they were both member of one of these absolutist anti-alcohol groups. And later, when they met for the second time, like that's how they had met for the first time, like on a train, and they saw that they wore the same ribbon, which indicated that they were part of this group. And then when they met the second time, having been there to the estate in the summer, he was like, oh, did you like, going to the estate? And he was like, yeah, it was great. And then he was like, yeah, want to come back next year? And he was like, yeah, sure, that'd be lovely. He was like, yeah, okay, but then I want to marry your daughter, who's 12 years old. And he was like, okay. And I don't know, like, it's so disgusting, like the bourgeois, economization of like all life,
like selling your daughter, basically.
Yeah.
To further your own social standing.
But the thing I was thinking about as well regarding this was many people perceive like that the last famine in Europe was the Irish famine, but actually the last really big famine in Europe took place here in Norrland. And I haven't really looked into it properly yet, but like more and more start to seem like it was really like a kind of planned famine, because they withheld, aid for a very long time. Like I think it was 3 years or something. So that by the time they came there, these timber barons would buy up land, for sausages, or a basket of grain. Like tens of thousands of square meter, hectares of land for like just a month's worth of food, to make sure your children didn't starve and stuff like that, which is just I mean, it's something worth looking into for sure. But it's sort of paint the picture of what a wild west this is, or like a wild north then, I guess. is more appropriate.
Yeah, and there's a lot of I saw a documentary about that famine, and there's a lot of fucked up stories about trying to both cheat the Sami people of their land, but also of like poor peasants. So you like lure them up to the north, say that they will have like get land and subsidies, and then and then you starve them, and then you just like buy it back. So it's like a pyramid scheme. But yeah,
really
so like talking about like the Swedish upper classes, they had really like shattered self-image after the loss of Finland in 1809, when Finland was given to Russia after the loss of the war, but also the dissolution of the union with Norway in 1905. So you like lose both Finland and Norway within the span of 100 years.
Yeah.
And this really, of course, upsets like both the nobility as well as the like emerging bourgeois classes to see the like loss of empire. And then they have this dream, instead of turning Sweden into an industrial superpower. And with these ideas as a backdrop, state-industry relations began to change and soften, and industry gained more influence within the like old remnants of nobility bureaucracy, um, which had before like been connected to the crown, right? It began to soften up, and like the bourgeois classes could gain positions of power within government, etc.
Yeah.
And Norrland had a wealth of natural resources that were attractive to this new industry. Like we said, with the ore, forests, and waterfalls and rivers, etc. And the demand for wood and iron in Europe was increasing at this time. So it was a really attractive export product. And a lot of capital goes north, and with it you have like these like the robber baron type of capitalists, the adventurists that come and become these like we say in Sweden, we call them like timber barons, or because they were involved in the like forest industry. And this was made easier with like improved communications with the trains and the roads, and the state invested heavily um, in the like, division of land in Norland. So they started to drew boundaries to parcels of land and sold them off to individual owners. And the process was a result of the fact that more settlers began to settle there and started to cultivate the land. But initially they had no like official land rights. They just grabbed it, right? So then they start to like the state take over a lot of land, and then they sell it off at like auctions to further the state treasury.
Yeah, and this is sort of why they need to create categories of subhumans of the Sami, because you can't really steal it from other Swedish people, right? Like, so you need to sort of show, or I mean, they could, but it would be harder to explain.
And here we have, because all of these, vagabonds and cheaters that go around, tricking the Sami people. And, if we this is just speculation, but I would say it's not that far out. But for example, when you have Retzius or Lundborg going there, and they do like catalogs of the Sami people, of course you can also maybe, see talking to the local people, like, oh, do you know if there's like ore around, or is there? So it's I would say
they're doing
that
like
it's
basic prospecting.
yeah, exactly. It's like industry espionage as well.
Yeah.
Trying to prospect, as you say.
Yeah, I saw a lot of because some people sort of turned to their side, and I saw like this documentary where they were interviewing a lot of Sami people, and they seemed to be really hated by them. These sort of Uncle Tom characters who would be like selling out information and then like sort of showing the secret transport routes of like where you could travel during the winter and how the rivers
Yeah.
worked and stuff like that. So they
And
they
all
were
of this
selling a
is
lot of
like valuable information, right?
for
And
sure, for sure.
people like Lundborg, they gathered this as well.
Hmm.
Not only photographing naked children,
No,
which they did,
yeah,
but it's and Lundborg, for example, he went to Norrland for months at a time, like every year for like 20 years, and
yeah,
he even like you know I watched this documentary about like Lundborg when he went there, and this is before the State Institute as well, when he was just like a lone researcher,
yeah,
this lone eugenicist out
yeah,
about in the wild. But
uh-huh.
he's really like, have you seen this movie, the Kevin Costner movie, Dances with Wolves?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, because he's just going out there, and it's like the nature is really the same as well, at least in the summer, at least. So
Hmm.
it's very like beautiful and like open with like a forest and mountains and rivers and like very like a natural scenery. And then
Hmm.
he's just like living in a little hut in the middle of nowhere,
Mm.
and then he's starting to like befriend the Samis,
Yeah,
making connections. So it really is like that movie.
yeah, scooching
Did you
his way in.
did you see it, Marcus?
Dances with Wolves or what, with Kevin Costner?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah. I've seen it, but I can't remember when, because we talked about rewatching it, and then you watched it on your own, and
yeah,
so I haven't seen it in a long time. But I
yeah,
do remember like that part, like, and when yeah, there's some strange scenes, and like when I don't know, like a lot of tropes about the American Indians and stuff, and sort of just I don't know, this usual like adventure tale to sort of cover up like what is a massive industrial project of like land requisition and
exactly. And
yeah,
in that movie, he's in the end, I guess he's like sympathizes with the natives.
yeah,
So it's like sees the horrors of the U.S. Army, for example.
hmm,
But he also like takes on a wife and etc. And this is exactly the same as Lundborg did in real
yeah,
life.
yeah. This freaked me out when you told me this, man.
So like because he had a wife and two children in Uppsala, but then he goes to the north like for months on end, I guess in the summer, because I don't think he would have gone in the winter, because but anyway, so yeah, and then he like in the beginning he's like sleeping around with his assistant,
Hmm.
and he has like a young assistant, but then he gets another assistant and like starts a new family with her. So he has like a second wife that is of like Sami descent. So
Yeah.
and
Just like it's so crazy. Like, and she becomes a cleaner at the Race Institute later, right? Like just walk.
yeah, he takes her along to back to Uppsala then, when he's like the
Yeah,
head of and she becomes an assistant so she's like cleaning the institute, which has pictures and all of this like fucked up research
yeah.
about the like her
Her own
people.
people. Yeah, turning them into like animals, basically.
Exactly, and she's like a mistress to Lundborg,
Yeah,
and
the
then he
foremost Nazi in Sweden, like when it comes to dehumanizing her people.
Yeah, and get to know this, like she lived in the institute, Marcus.
Yeah.
Like her apartment was in the attic.
No, what?
Yeah.
She's like stored away, like as if she's part. Like it's. I mean, it's so sick, man. Like, what's wrong with the right-wing brain? Like, what? Like, how can he? How does he make that work for himself? Like,
But I
in the end,
think, every right-wing brain in the end, it's, in every right-winger there is a little Fritzl. They
yeah,
want to have a sex dungeon, and it's not even, it's, we can laugh, but it's true.
yeah.
And it's proven time and time and again.
Like their pleasure center is like a fucking left forgotten box of Christmas decoration. It's just entangled wires of like power urging. Wow.
Yeah. So and he actually, like, she of course, like, winds up becoming pregnant.
Yeah.
And then he has her, like, going to another city to give birth and give the child away.
Yeah. Like they're such cowards as well. They're such absolute cowards. Like, I don't know.
And you know what I think is, like, the one of the sadder parts.
Yeah. What?
It's his grave.
Yeah.
In Uppsala.
Yeah.
Which has, like, with his like first family, with
Yeah.
his
Of course.
like wife and everything. Then the mistress, she has, like, a side grave next to it.
What? Like a pet
Ye-
or something?
Yes. So
Fuck
it's
me.
in the same, like, family grave.
This guy is like, I don't know. Like, there should be like a national holiday where we just remember like all these monsters. Like, we don't need to make up stories anymore. Like, we have so many modern monsters. We can just make, I don't know, make a holiday of like remembrance and try to be like, I can't believe like we didn't learn about this, in school. Like, especially like with the Sami people and stuff. Like, it's so like under emphasized, this whole part of the history. Like like, of course, like, yeah, I don't know what to say. Pig looking son of a bitch, this guy.
Yeah, but so and yeah, and I think this is something that was because we saw it with some of the other explorers as well. Of course they will, like, take advantages of, like, being like a representative of the state, or like an imperial power or something like this.
Yeah.
And they see it as, their how do you say, their privilege.
Yeah.
And it's always connected with this more both on the, like, ideological level of, like, doing a lot of like the devil's work, basically. But then of course there are also, like, gonna be devils in their private life.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of with the, because they photographed all of these people as well, and when they force them to get naked, etc. Like, there's no real reason for it.
No, for sure not. Like, it's
It's
just
just
a
that
expression of power, like, and domination.
and there's a lot of examples of how, he would go and like touch on the women that they
I read
would
that
so
too.
yeah,
Just smiling and like a lot of
in
like
his white robe,
disgusting.
like,
Yeah. That's the word, like, that's the most obscene thing, right? Like this white robe, because it has this still this symbolic value, like in our societies of science, that they are somehow, the representatives of the forward movement of history itself. But when it comes down to it, it's just basic, sexual perversions of like just wanting to dominate and wanting to just dehumanize and exploit other people. Like it's so pathetic, and I don't know, like so. I don't know. That's the thing in the end of this, like all this whole first season, like what you see time and time again, it's so cheap, you know. Like they sell out their own ideas, and like, you know, they stand for absolutely nothing, you know. Like all this, it's always, that's the fakest thing about Nazism. Like when it's in the regular like documentaries and stuff, like always made out to look like this sort of force and this power of will, but like they don't have any will at all. Like, you know, they're just like coat turners and opportunists and like just looking out for themselves, and like, you know, like I don't know, like what animal would they be compared to, you know? Like they are not lions or eagles like they think they are, like, you know, they're just like some scavenger, like a
worms
little
or something. I would say just like
yes.
squirming around, eating and pooping.
Yeah, fuck me. Oh, so I think this is somewhere where we will leave you, dear listener, like for this season. Like that is, you know, maybe it seems like a defeatist conclusion, but I don't really think it is. I think we've touched upon so many things that there are so many ways to view this, and you know, it was, I think it's an important thing to sort of end here to show that sort of what would become the industrial base in many ways of both the First World War and the Second World War, in terms of, you know, iron ore production and stuff. Like it was to take like the land of like one of the last indigenous people of Europe that were there before, to go fight other European nations, as always. Like, I don't know, this crass economic causality of their ideology and their philosophy, you know, puts it into a certain, you know, clarity, a context of clarity, which I think at the same time fits well with like, yeah, the two-faced nature, like of these people on an individual level, like as in the case of Lundborg's own life, right? I don't know, Sabine, like what did you learn this summer and this autumn? What would you like to leave the listener with?
No, but I think because of course we've been
Yeah,
talking about a lot of, and it's like easy to, you know, get lost in the details of this particular school or this scientist and that. But I think what we like, and I hope we got this point like across, but is that um, these people are like pathetic, and the, like you said, like the idea of, you know, the German war machine and etc. Like all of this is bullshit, you know, to make them seem like some sort of, you know, um,
there's something cool that you're
like,
not allowed to really think is cool, you know? Like it's this ideological bribe of being like, this is forbidden, but it's a little bit interesting, right? But it's like, no, it's not. It's like, it's so lame, you know? It's like one of those red buttons, you want to press it when you're a kid, but then the fire police doesn't come, you know? Like nothing happens when you press the button. It's just sad patheticness, like you said. Yeah, like just, yeah. Yeah, nothing there.
yeah, and they can like coat it in pretty words and like
Yeah, lore and
ciphers and etc., you know, trying to make it like look mathematical or, you know,
yeah.
scientific and etc., but in the end it's just stupid shit, trying to
Yeah,
justify like a class society.
and scamming non-capitalist people, like of their resources.
Exactly, and I
Trying to,
think to your like point of if you were being like defeatist or something, I don't think it's defeatist. I think it's like, of course, it can sound like this, and we've been talking about a lot of like dark topics, but in the end, it's sort of like liberating as well to, you know,
yeah,
disperse the myth of these people like
for
being,
sure.
you know, on a pedestal. in terms of scientific prowess and being, very smart and etc. They're because it's you always paint them as evil geniuses, but they're evil, but they're not geniuses. They're ordinary stupid people. So I would say this is what is the feeling that I will take with me going forward after this series. That I will not be intimidated by people trying to accept stupid ideas about Proto-Indo-European languages or whatnot have you.
You know what? Like a nice analogy. Often in games, sometimes when you win over the boss in the end, they can become like playable characters. Like in Super Mario Smash Brothers or something, you can play like Ganon, like when you've killed him, like in Zelda, for example. But then they're always shit.
Yeah.
Like when the killed boss becomes a playable character, it's like you say, it's just annoying. It's just evil, but the genius has disappeared. Like it's just a normal stupid person with like no special ability whatsoever. And that's how I feel about like this monster that is like eugenics or race hygiene and the sort of the sublimest hope of like the Nazi malfunctioned brain. Like it turned out it wasn't very much to it.
Okay, but I thank you for coming on
you shall have a million thanks for giving up the last 4-5 months of weekends of your time to help us perform this exorcism that we've all been through. And I think the listeners who went with us the whole time, you should give yourself like a pat on the shoulder, because I mean, this was like, we've been maybe almost 1,000 people now read the book together of maybe as many pages. If we would have taken all our notes, right, Seb, this would be 1,000-page book that we've sort of step by step made into an audiobook, and you went through it with us, which is crazy. It's one hell of a study circle. Thank you
for having me, and good luck to your future projects. I'm confident that you will not miss this topic of eugenics and linguistics. It will take some time before you will open a book about this topic again, I hope.
I think so too, but I look forward to having you on for a second season. But it's gonna be a while. It's gonna be in a part of the library that does not get opened or touched. Let them gather some dust for a while, and then we see what we can do with it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
While being observing prisoners of the real, in our utter emptiness there is no deceit, for all has been revealed. No jealousy or anger in its absence, as no desired thing is to be had, taken, gifted or lost. Though love gains its strength from it, it is not of it. All there is compassion. For compassion is not a feeling, it is mere admitted recognition of this, all as it is, just as it is. Here we cease to wander in gentle sorrow without a clue, together with those gassed to death for their cluelessness, because nobody outsmarts the non-return. All the same, all unique, and as an old one once put it, though it is unnecessary to intellectualize about good and evil, there are nonetheless some things which we absolutely do not do, such as forgiving the bourgeoisie for what they have done and is doing.